A Falcons rookie is making his debut this Sunday. At least Raheem Morris said it is a good chance of happening. And sorry to disappoint potentially some, it's not Michael Penix. It is the early day 3 draft pick out of Oregon that I know some of you have been asking about, defensive tackle Brandon Dorlus. He has not played in a regular season game yet. He's been a healthy scratch through the first 10 weeks of the season, but with a couple of injuries popping up on the defensive line, Raheem Morris said in his press conference this week that it's got a good chance of happening to see Dorlus, but we got to wait and see how practice goes first. So hopefully he's not an abomination in practice, and we can finally see one of the few draft picks that have made their way onto the field this season for the Falcons. But there have been a couple of injuries up front for Atlanta. Taquan Graham is dealing with a pec injury. James Smith-Williams dealing with an upper body injury. There's a decent / high probability that one, if not both of these guys lands on injured reserve and knocks them out for the next 4 weeks. So that has paved the way for Brandon Dorlus, who has been inactive every single game so far this year, to finally get onto the active roster on Sunday. We'll see how many snaps he gets on the field. It would probably look something like 5 to 10. I don't think you should expect a very big number. But I know I speak for, I think, all of us when I say we're just excited to see a rookie contribute, or hopefully contribute, because we haven't really seen that much of it this year so far. Dorlus had a very successful career at Oregon. You can check out what he was able to do in Eugene. I mean, the last couple of seasons, 5 sacks, 2.5 sacks, rushing from the interior, not being a traditional edge rusher. Those are really good numbers right there for number 54 for the Falcons. But like I was saying, we just haven't really seen a whole lot from this rookie draft class. Michael Penix, we all knew this would be a redshirt season. But Ruke was a healthy scratch for the first month of the year, and the last couple of games he saw some action, but he never really had a huge role, and unfortunately, he just went on IR with an ankle injury. Bralen Trick tore his ACL in the first preseason of the game, so that sucked. We're going to finally see Brandon Dorlus. Who would have thought that 5th-round pick out of Notre Dame, JD Bertrand, would have the largest role of all the rookies so far this year? I mean, Jace McClellan, he's been a healthy scratch for every game but one. Casey Washington has played some on special teams, but very, very little, if any, at all on offense. And Zion Logue, he's not even on the team anymore. He's on the Bills. And he's actually played a little bit more than pretty much any other rookie has played so far for the Falcons outside of JT Bertrand. So very little contributions being made by the rookie class, and it stings. I mean, for one, you always want to get some level of contribution from your rookie class because as a fan, it makes you feel like, okay, there are some good seeds growing in the farm system. But from a coaching staff, it really alleviates some of the pressure to go out and sign cheap veteran free agents year after year because you've got some guys on 4-year contracts who are going to get better and better and come up your system and be a product of your coaching staff's success. So it stings having very little rookie contributions. To give the Falcons a pass, I can understand how it got this case because how it got this way since Michael Penix was never going to play this year. Bralen Trick tore his ACL. That's just out of the coaching staff's control. I think he would have had a decently large role, especially with the pass rushing woes. Little underwhelming to see very little from Ruke as a 2nd-round draft pick, but he's still a rookie. I'm not going to define him or grade him or judge him based on the first half of his rookie season. But the rest of the guys, yeah, how often do you see other day 3 draft picks make meaningful contributions in year 1? Sometimes it happens. It's not impossible, but it's not happening with this class. Hopefully that changes with Dorlus, though. Name a random Falcons draft pick. I like to ask this type of question every so often, but this time I'm going to set the parameters into they have to have been drafted by the Falcons. Let's see how random we can get. I forgot who it was a few weeks ago when we did this, but they gave me like an autobiography for 10 different random Falcons players. So if that guy's watching again, do it all over again for the rookies because I really enjoyed reading that before going to bed. Now, next up on the show, I want to talk about what's going on in the wide receiver room because the Falcons might be making some history if the season continues like it's been going so far for Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Now, before we get to that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, by the way, offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this season. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Drake London and Darnell Mooney have both been wide receiver ones this year on the same team. They form the only duo in the NFL to have 600 or more receiving yards and 5+ touchdowns. These two players have been awesome so far this year. In fact, they are currently on a good trajectory to be one of the best receiving duos in the last 15 years. I mean, I did the research on it and look at some of the best duos from 2010 to present. Roddy White and Julio Jones. You can see White's numbers on the left and Jones's numbers on the right. Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall in Chicago. Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb in Green Bay. The Broncos 2015 Super Bowl team, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I know there's a lot of info on screen here, so pause the video if you need to just digest what was, by the way, an unbelievable season for Chicago and Green Bay a decade ago. And I want you guys to look at those numbers and now look at the numbers of 2016 to 2019. Like, what happened? I mean, for whatever reason, and I know that there's a lot of detailed responses to this, but scoring is just not what it used to be. And I would have thought that as the league continues and just progresses, like most sports, scoring goes up because athleticism goes up across the board. Not really the case, but that's for a deep dive for someone else to do. But yeah, all-time wide receiver duos from 2010 to present. I mean, right now, Mooney and London are on a very good path to join this list. And it's been incredible to see because we know Drake London was capable of this. He just didn't have a decent quarterback, and he kind of got forgotten about as a result of that. And then as for Darnell Mooney, it was a decent payday for him, given that he had come off a 400-yard season. I mean, he had a 1,000-yard year in year 2 with the Bears, but the next 2 seasons, he didn't even combine for 1,000 yards. So when the Falcons gave him a $39 million contract, I, for one, was like, I like the player, but $39 million is a big check to give out for someone who hasn't been very productive the last 2 seasons. And Darnell Mooney has just been anything except, bad. I mean, he's been awesome so far this season. So it's been super fun to watch 1 and 5 form one of the best receiver duos this year, if not the best receiver duo this year, and then to take it one step further to form one of the best receiver duos we have seen in the last 15 seasons if they continue on the path they are on right now, which would have them both over 1,000 yards and both knocking on the door of 10 touchdowns. Now, what is the chance of that happening? What is the likelihood of that happening? Look at the pass defenses for their upcoming games. It's not going to be easy. The Broncos defense is really good. The Chargers defense is just one of the best tackling teams in football this year. That's been a major turnaround under Harbaugh. What does that mean for Mooney and London? It's likely going to limit their yards after the catch, and that's something Mooney has been very, very good at. The Vikings pass defense is down. The Raiders, I'm a little surprised to see it's there, but I think that's just because teams run the ball so successfully on them, they don't need to pass it. The Giants at number 6, I'm also a little surprised to see it is that high. Commanders at 5, and the Panthers at 25th. So it's not going to be a gimme. There are some good pass defenses coming up for these two players, but I think if they continue to play at the same level they've played at over the last 5, 6, 7 weeks as they've gotten more and more comfortable with Cousins as the season has gone on. I mean, think about where we were week 1 against the Steelers to, I know week 10 was not something to write home about, but Younghoe Koo just goes 2 for 4 in his field goals. We're talking about a game that ends in overtime. 3 for 4, and we're talking about a Falcons win. And that's just asking him to go 75%. That's not an egregious ask to make right there. So I know last week wasn't great, but still, I think we can all agree that there's been a dramatic improvement from where this offense started to where they are now at the halfway mark of the season. So who do you think will have more yards in 2024? Darnell Mooney or Drake London? If you asked me this question back in August, I wouldn't have laughed at you, but I would have said, let's get serious. Come on, it's going to be Drake London. Right now, I think there's a real chance that Mooney might get more yards, but London gets more touchdowns. So kudos to anyone that stood by picking Darnell Mooney back in August or September as a guy who could lead this team in receiving yards. I'm going to stick with my gut and say it's Drake London who leads the team in both, but who knows? Mooney has been such a deep threat and a go-to guy for Kirk Cousins. I'm listening to Kirk Cousins talk about his conversations with Darnell Mooney as if he's talking to his offensive coordinator. And remind me, which one's the 36-year-old again? I mean, you've got a mid-20s guy who is just blowing away an NFL veteran quarterback with his knowledge and his dedication to the offense and to learning the playbook front to cover. It's just been such a relief to go, finally, you got a Falcons free agent signing that actually works, because the last few years outside of Jesse Bates and now Darnell Mooney, there haven't been a ton of successful ones, mostly because they haven't really spent a ton in free agency. But the last 2 years, give Terry Fontenot credit. He nailed Bates and Mooney. That sounded weird. He nailed the signings of Jesse Bates and Darnell Mooney. I'm sure that's going to get clipped. All right, before we sign off, I do want to give some shout-outs to the Dirty Birds Club. Jose Santana, Ken Ballard, Trey1222. Trey, I haven't seen you in a while. Miss you, dude. Same goes for Jason Lindino, Reese Atkins, Archangel, Angry Liquid, Jeebus H. Christ, Dictator JC, JT, Jordan C. Johnza. Jordan, your raffle winning is on its way, so check your mail. Ronan Tyrell, same goes for you, but you live much further than Jordan, a little bit further past the Pacific. And then Lord Buddy Bear and Bentley, thank you guys so much for being consistent viewers of the channel. If you are not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and do so. That way you can stay up to date on your favorite team. Hit that thumbs up button if you liked our video. And I'm going to see everyone tomorrow when we go live on the channel, so make sure you tune in for that. It'll be at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, recapping everything you need to know going into Week 11 against the 5-5 Broncos.